Hi, I'm Daniel Andrews, owner and creator of AndrewsFootball.com. Welcome to Mock Draft Monday. Now, if you're new to my channel and you haven't been here before, I just got one question to ask you. Do you like football? Because if you do, you're in the right place. Bottom line, this channel is a channel for football fans just like you. And I follow football 365 days out of the year. I don't care about politics, social issues, basketball, baseball, bowling, hockey. I only care about football, and I follow it 365 days out of the year, 366 this year. So if you like football, there's a button right around here. Where is it? Right there. See it, see it, see it. Bam! Hit that button. Become one of the greatest people on planet Earth. Now, last week, I did a video, first round mock draft, just like this week, with trades. But have you ever seen the movie Clue? If you've seen the movie Clue, you know what I'm talking about. But if you haven't, at the end of the movie, it shows the ending. Then they say, okay, well, hold on. That's how it happened, but what about this? And it gives you an alternate ending. Then it gives you a third ending, and it says, that's how it also could have happened, but what about this? So in this video, all the trades are different. I got a whole new list of mock trades, and I tried to put different players at different draft selections, but a lot of the picks are the same. But here's the thing. You have 32 NFL teams are going to have 32 different big boards and 32 different opinions. All right. Some teams are going to have Joe Burrow as their quarterback number one. Some teams are going to have Tua as their number one quarterback. Some teams are going to have Justin Herbert as their number one quarterback. You don't know. I don't know. And when everything's said and done, it doesn't matter if you're Daniel Jeremiah or Mel Kiper or Todd McShay, you're not going to get more than 8 picks right. 8 picks would be the max. I can promise you almost nobody who does a mock draft is going to get more than 8 right. Now, this video, again, is my opinion, but I want to know what yours is. Let's talk. Let's start a dialogue. If you're watching this, join in. Leave a comment below. Let me know what you think. So without further ado, let's go. All right, here's my first 6 picks. And just like last year when Murray and Bosa went 1 and 2, I fully expect Burrow and Young to go 1 and 2 in this draft. I think Washington could trade down, but I don't see them getting the trade compensation that they want. My pick at 3 is a little different than most people. Most people got Okudah. I got Simmons. I think playing man in this particular type of defense is a lot to ask out of a rookie. Simmons will be more productive day one. Detroit's in a win-now situation, so I think you go with Simmons. A special shout-out to my boy Luke G Field Review. If you are a Detroit Lions fan or a fan of Detroit sports at all, you have got to follow this guy. Last year, he called TJ Hawkinson going to Detroit in early February. Just blew my mind. I had something completely different. And he's been calling Simmons for a long time. I jumped on the bandwagon after free agency, after I saw what the Lions were doing in free agency. I'm like, oh man, he's right. So he was saying it before. I was saying it. I can't take credit for it. Funky Nuts, you also have been saying Simmons longer than I've been saying it. So special shout out to you two guys. But if you're a Detroit Lions fan, you've got to check out the Luke G Field Review. The Giants, I think Love wills. I think he's your day one starter on the right side, replaces Solder in 2021. The way Solder's contract is, it's almost, you'd be ridiculous to let him go this year, but next year it works out a lot better for you guys. So basically Will's your day one starter on the right side. I'd be shocked if he didn't end up in the Pro Bowl, replaces Solder in 2021 on the left side. And I've been seeing more and more mocks with Tua and Justin Herbert flip-flopped here. I'm going to stick with my original guns and have Tua going to Miami and Herbert going to the Chargers at 6. But more and more, I've been seeing these two flip-flop. I'm sticking with my guns. And here at 7, we have our first trade. All right, here's the trade. The Cleveland Browns are going to go ahead and get pick number 7 and pick number 148. Now, it's the second pick in the 5th round. Cleveland does not have a 5th round pick. Carolina has 2 5th round picks. So it's kind of a good move for Cleveland just to throw one away. If you see here at the bottom, I have the NFL trade value chart point totals listed. I'm going to put a link down below in that description. Carolina will get picks number 10. They pick up an extra 3rd round pick, and they get pick number 187th, the 8th pick in the 6th round. And basically this is so that the trade value chart basically evens out. You have 1531 versus 1535.4. So it's very close. And the Cleveland Browns at 7 take Tristan Wirfs, tackle out of Iowa. And Stefanski in Minnesota last year ran a zone blocking scheme. If you're familiar with the zone blocking scheme, it prioritizes movement and agility more than it does functional strength. And when I look at the offensive line class, I see Wirfs is probably your most athletic, a guy who just aced the combine. The Browns also hired Bill Callahan from Washington, maybe the best offensive line coach in football. If you're the Cleveland Browns, the one position that you really need a starter from is left tackle. You actually have a loaded roster. That's very weird for me to say. But whether the Browns trade up at 4, which I mocked in my last draft, or at 7, I fully expect Cleveland to trade up. If Wirfs gone at 4, let's say Giants take Wirfs at 4, I still think the Browns trade up and they take Wills. But I think Wirfs is the Browns' number one priority based off the offense that Minnesota ran last year. At number 8, the Arizona Cardinals, we have another trade. Arizona is going to get pick number 11 and pick number 79. And then the Jets are going to get pick number 8 and pick 131. So they're going to move down 3. Arizona's going to move down 3 spots, get an extra 3rd round pick. The Jets are going to move up and they're going to get a 4th round pick. It's interesting because Arizona has 2 4th round picks and the Jets have 2 3rd round picks. As you see in the trade chart value, the points are pretty similar. Jets fans, I can hear the boos now. You're going to hate this pick, okay? I'm just giving you a fair warning. But going into the draft, the Jets have 2 major weaknesses, corner and wide receiver. This may be the deepest wide receiver class in the history. I've never seen a wide receiver class this deep before. And what this means is that after the draft and after the 2nd round of free agency before preseason, you're going to see a lot of veteran wide receivers get the axe. And then during preseason, you're going to see more veteran wide receivers than in most years due to the amount of rookie wide receivers that are going to occupy roster spots on teams. You're going to see more veteran wide receivers available after the draft and then during preseason than you ever have. So at 8, I got a major curveball here. The Jets trade up, but they take Jeffery Okudah, corner out of Ohio State. Now, my boy Luke G released a video where he breaks down Okudah's film and he says, hey, this is a top 10 player. Chris Sims released his top 5 corners and he has Okudah as his number 3 corner. But for the Jets, this works. Look at your division. In New England, you got Edelman, Sanu, Harry. None of these guys are burners. Buffalo's, they got Diggs. He's not a burner. Miami, there's not a burner there. You don't have a Tyreek Hill in this division. So Okudah makes a lot of sense to the Jets. He's your number 1 corner. He's the best corner on your team immediately. I say if you're the Jets, take advantage of the wide receiver depth. You can get a really good wide receiver in the 2nd round, 3rd round. Maybe you trade back into the 1st round. You can't get somebody as good as Okudah later on in the draft. Plus, look at Jacksonville. Jacksonville at 9 could definitely take Okudah. So that's why I got the Jets trading up, getting the number 1 corner off the board in their big board. Like I said, Jacksonville's next at 9. Jacksonville gave up 2,229 rushing yards last year, which is 28th, and 5.1 yards a carry, which is 31st. Now, if they keep Yannick Ngakoue, I'm going to butcher his name. You know who I'm talking about. And you get him on one side, you got Josh Allen on the other. Derrick Brown helps your running defense and your outside pass rush immensely because you don't want your quarterback to be hit by a 325-pound space eater like Derrick Brown. So you can't double team either one of your pass rushers. So this defense is awesome. And not only that, you also make up for that Taven Bryant pick, who's been an absolute bust. He was your 1st round pick in 2018. So get the right defensive tackle in, a guy who's going to help you against the run and the pass. Day 1 starter. Major win for Jacksonville. Carolina, I think, could take Kinlaw at 7. And the reason why is look at your division. You have 2 40-year-old quarterbacks and 1 35-year-old quarterback. Is there another 3 quarterbacks that are less athletic than the 3 other quarterbacks in the NFC South? There's not. So getting a defensive tackle who can split the gap, get in the face of the quarterback is a little more important than getting someone who can occupy space and can stuff the run. Now, Rule is bringing in his defensive coordinator from Baylor. And in Baylor, they ran a 3-3-5, which most college defenses do. But from what I've seen from Carolina so far, it looks like they're going to run a multifaceted defense with a 4-man defensive front, probably a lot of nickel, which most teams run. But if Carolina does plan on using a 3-4 or running a formation of 3-3-5, which most NFL teams don't do, Derrick Brown has to be your pick. But I don't see that from Carolina, so I like Kinlaw here. Now, Arizona at 11 trades again. And here's how this trade's going to work. Arizona's going to get pick number 15 and pick number 77. And Denver's just going to get pick number 11. And a special shout out to Cody Rourke. He does the Locked On Broncos Network. And the reason why Cody's getting a special shout out is because this is your guy. Henry Ruggs, wide receiver out of Alabama. He's the first wide receiver off the board. Is he the best wide receiver in the draft? Absolutely not. But look at the Broncos here. You got Cortland Sutton on one side. You got Deshaun Hamilton on the other side. Your rookie tight end Fant. Now, Fant, in 2 to 3 years from now, he may be the best receiving tight end in football. But out of your receiving core, if Fant's your fastest player, that's not good. So while Ruggs is not my number 1 or my number 2 wide receiver, he may be the Broncos' number 1 player because this wide receiving core needs speed. And the biggest impact Ruggs will have is not on his stats, but it allows defense or allows the offense to not look at 7 and 8 players in the box, which you can do right now against Denver because there's no speed in that receiving core. A player like Ruggs opens up your entire offense. It helps the run game and also helps Sutton, Fant, and Hamilton in the intermediate route. So Cody Rourke, this one's for you. The Broncos do have 3 third-round picks, so I do think that they're going to trade up in the draft. I just don't know if it's going to be a trade up in round 1 or in round 2, but they will trade up in this draft. And they also want to trade up here at 11 because the Raiders pick next. You want to leapfrog the Raiders. And the Raiders at 12 also have a trade. This is hands down the biggest trade in the draft. The Raiders are going to get picks number 21, 53, and 146. Philly's only going to get pick number 12. And with pick number 12, Philly is going to get CeeDee Lamb out of Oklahoma. Now, here's the deal. San Francisco at 13 is 100% going to take a wide receiver, okay? Gruden has been an NFL head coach for 16 years, and the former wide receivers coach has never taken a wide receiver in the first round. Now, I think the Eagles are really loaded, but they need a wide receiver. And yes, they can get one at 21, but you're not going to get an elite guy like CeeDee Lamb or Judy. I have Judy rated above Lamb by like just a hair. So it's kind of dealer's choice, which one you like better. I'm going to go with Lamb because Lamb does have a little more upside than Judy, in my opinion. The Raiders don't have a second-round pick, so in this trade, they do get a second-round pick. And the Eagles still have a third-round pick. They had 3 fourth-round picks. Now they still have two fourth-round picks. So here's the deal. Yes, they trade up, but they still have a third. They still have 2 fourth-round picks. So they still have trade capital to get better in this draft. Again, Philly does need a wide receiver. They can get one at 21, but no one as good as Lamb or Judy. I think they go with Lamb. And again, this is my opinion, but I want to know what you think. Raiders fans, how do you feel about trading back down, getting your second-round pick? And Eagles fans, how do you feel about them trading up and getting CeeDee Lamb in the first round? Leave a comment below. What do you think? I got picks 13 through 16 next. Jerry Jeudy at 13 is kind of a no-brainer here. Now, if Philly trades up and they take Jeudy, then San Francisco will take CeeDee Lamb. But here I got them taking Jeudy. This is a no-brainer. Basically, you're trading DeForest Buckner for Jerry Jeudy. After Emmanuel Sanders left in free agency, Jeudy will come in. He's your day one starter. I think it's an upgrade, actually. So this is a home run for San Francisco. Pick number 14, Tampa Bay. I couldn't decide between Becton and Thomas here. I went with production over potential. If Tampa wants Becton, I wouldn't be surprised, but between the two, I decided to go with Thomas. It's kind of dealer's choice here, but like I said, production over potential. 15, this is why Arizona trades down, because when I look at their free agent acquisitions, I'm seeing Devon Kennard and Devondre Campbell. And Hassan Reddick, who was their first-round pick in 2016, has been a colossal bust. They tried him on the inside. Now they're trying him on the outside. I wouldn't be surprised if he actually gets cut. Campbell's on a 1-year deal. Kennard's going to play on the outside. I didn't touch this base on this earlier, but they signed Jordan Phillips and Corey Peters on the defensive line, 2 massive space eaters. That's why I don't think you use pick number 8 on Derrick Brown. The Cardinals have been needing an inside linebacker with speed and athleticism. So here you get Kenneth Murray. Even though it's very rich, I think 15 is really high for Kenneth Murray, but this is a position of need. And in this scenario, you trade from 8 down to 15. You get 2 third-round picks, and you get a player you need. So that's kind of how I see it going. And I do like Kenneth Murray as a football player. 15 is rich, but you need an inside linebacker with speed and athleticism, and Kenneth Murray's the best one available. So 16, Atlanta. When I first started doing the mock draft, I was picturing Atlanta trading up for Henderson, but I just couldn't find a good trade partner. So if he's available, 16 is a no-brainer here. Henderson's available. Atlanta takes him at 16. That to me is an absolute no-brainer. Dallas at 17, I have a trade. Dallas is going to receive picks 27 and 64, and Seattle is going to get pick number 17. And the player is Mekhi Becton, tackle out of Louisville. And just to be clear, if Tampa Bay at 14 takes Becton, Seattle's not making this trade. This trade's only for Becton because the only real consistency with Pete Carroll is that he loves size on the offensive line. That's been the one consistency because Seattle is a very difficult team to nail down. I have no idea what they're going to do during the draft, and you don't either. But when I look at this trade here, bottom line, if Becton's available past 14, so if Tampa Bay picks and it's not Becton and Becton's available, Seattle's going to try to trade up, whether it's picks 15, 16, or 17. And the reason why is Miami at 18 will take Becton if he's available. Dallas, I think, is going to try to get 4 starters in this draft. They have a hole at center, corner, edge rusher, and safety. Now, if there's a player that they are head over heels in love with, they'll go ahead and make the pick at 17. But when you're trying to replace multiple starters, the only way you can really do that is by trading down. So that's kind of how I see it. Dallas needs players. Seattle has 2 second-round picks. And with this trade, Russell Wilson's protected for life. And like I mentioned before, Miami at 18 will take Becton if he's available. Okay, with Becton gone, I toyed with Miami taking a tackle at 18 anyway, but McKinney's the best safety available. And it's kind of funny because they get this pick courtesy of the Pittsburgh Steelers for the trade for Minkah Fitzpatrick. Now, when Minkah Fitzpatrick came out of Alabama, he was used at both corner and safety. So when Brian Flores came to Miami, they decided to move him to a box safety. That's not really his strength. He wasn't happy. They traded him. Now they're getting a guy who's perfectly built as a box safety, and it's funny because you're basically trading Minkah Fitzpatrick for Xavier McKinney. You're basically flip-flopping Alabama defensive backs. And if that's the case, then Miami hit a home run because they took a guy who's not built to play the box safety position and put a guy who is built for the box safety position. So this would be a home run for the Miami Dolphins here. Pick number 19, I got a question for you. What is Mike Mayock's favorite thing? You guessed it, drafting Clemson players. So here's the deal. You go ahead and you get AJ Terrell here. You put him next to Travion Mullen. Your Clemson pick from 2019. You now got 2 really good athletic corners in the backside here, and you're good to go. 20, Jacksonville, after lucking out with Derrick Brown dropping all the way to 9, they luck out again and get Kristian Fulton, a day 1 starter here at 20. I think really with Brown and Fulton, you hit a home run because I think the value of both these players are really high, especially Derrick Brown at 9. He's my number 2 player overall. Fulton at 20. I could see him going somewhere in the teens. So Jacksonville just hits a home run. At 21, after the Philly trade, the Raiders this offseason signed former Dallas defensive coordinator Rod Marinelli. He's a world-class defensive line coach because you need more production. 2018, they drafted Maurice Hurst and P.J. Hall, 2 defensive tackles, and in 59 games, they have a combined 9 sacks. That's just not cutting it. So at 21, I'm going with Ross Blacklock defensive tackle out of TCU. He's something completely different than Hurston Hall. Hurston Hall are shorter, smaller, quicker defensive tackles. Blacklock's long and athletic. And basically you're putting these guys on blast because you signed Malik Collins in free agency. So basically if you draft Blacklock here, you're going to cut either Hurst or Hall. You're not. I have a hard time thinking you're going to keep 4 defensive tackles. You could, but more than likely one of these guys is going to go. Now, here's the thing. After the Philly trade, I think Blacklock is the pick, but there's been rumors about Gabe Jackson, your starting guard, being traded. If he's gone, then I think the pick's going to be Cesar Ruiz, offensive lineman out of Michigan. He can play guard or tackle. I toyed around with him going at 21 here, but as of today, Gabe Jackson's still a Raider. He's still a good quality starting offensive lineman. So as long as he's a Raider, then 21, I think you go in a different direction because you sign Ron Marinelli. You need to improve the defensive tackle position. So draft a guy at defensive tackle with massive upside. At 22, I've always had Minnesota taking a defensive end. I've used Yader Gross-Matos and AJ Epenesa. I'm sorry, I'm probably butchering both those names, but I'm putting the pick as K'Von Chaisson here. Now, here's the deal. K'Von Chaisson's always been off the board in all my other mocks. Here, he drops all the way to 22. But bottom line, the pick here is going to be whoever Mike Zimmer likes the most, but I do think it's going to be one of those 3 guys. Keep in mind, if Chaisson is available, I think that would be a good pick here for Minnesota, but any one of these 3 guys would be a good pick for Minnesota here at 22. New England at 23 is going to take Jordan Love. I've seen lots of mock drafts where New England trades up. I don't see it. I think you can get him at 23, and that I think will be the pick. I don't think he starts year 1. I think he starts in 2021. And then at 24, the Saints were a real tough team to figure out because I put a bunch of different players here. But I'm kind of going with Grant Delpit here. Now, I'm picking Delpit here because Malcolm Jenkins was re-signed. He spent the last couple of years in Philly. He is known for being a good leader, and he's going to be the starting strong safety. So bringing Delpit here as free safety, I'm making this selection with the impression that Malcolm Jenkins knows that he's going to take this guy under his wing. He's going to work with Delpit, and basically it's Super Bowl or bust in New Orleans. So Delpit has to get up to speed immediately. There's no safety in the draft with bigger upside. So putting him with Jenkins, it's really hard to kind of go in a different direction once I see those 2 together. At pick number 25, Minnesota's second pick in the first round, I see them getting a little creative, and we have another trade. In this trade, Minnesota will get picks 37 and 71, and the Los Angeles Chargers will get the 25th pick in the first round and pick 132. The way this will work is that Minnesota will end up with 2 second-round picks and 3 third-round picks. They have pick number 37, and then they'll have pick number 58. And this is kind of interesting because they have the 5th pick in the second round. Then they have the 26th pick in the second round. So you get 1 in the beginning and 1 at the end. And in round 3, they have the 7th, the 25th, and the 41st. So basically beginning, middle, and end. So out of the next 100 selections in the draft, the Minnesota Vikings get 5 of them. And remember, they already got Chaisson, so they already got a day 1 starter at defensive end. Now they get, out of the next 100 picks, they got 5 draft picks. It gives Minnesota a ton of options. They could trade up, they could trade down, they could also take 5 players to help their team. So Minnesota is now loaded with draft picks. Los Angeles at 25 takes Austin Jackson, tackle out of USC. Now, Miami at pick number 26, I got them taking a tackle. And the Chargers know that Miami is going to take a tackle at 26. The question is who. So you get Austin Jackson. Now, remember, they're moving into a new stadium in Los Angeles, so take the local kid who's only 20 years old, massive upside. To me, this makes a lot of sense, but Austin Jackson is extremely raw. I don't know he's your day 1 starter, so trading up in the first round is really risky, but 5 years from now, if he's a Pro Bowl left tackle, this is a great move. In a perfect world, you have your starting quarterback and your starting left tackle from this draft covered for the next, 10, 12 years. So that's how I see it going. And let's move on to Miami at 26. I think that whether Austin Jackson's available or not, I think Miami wants to take Josh Jones, but I could see how the Chargers don't want to risk that and risk taking the local kid. But I see Josh Jones being a day one starter. I'm not sure Austin Jackson is. So whether Jackson's available or not, I don't think that affects Miami one way or another. I think they'll take Josh Jones at 26. And look at this draft. You get your future starting quarterback in Tua, then you get McKinney and Jones, day one starters. So great job, Miami Dolphins. 27 after the trade down. I think Dallas takes the local kid, and here's what I think happens is that, keep in mind, I've never been inside the Jones war room, but I guarantee you if they trade down to 27, there's going to be a scout or two or three that's just going to pound the table here for the local kid, because this guy's a football player, this guy's a competitor, this guy's athletic. I guarantee you people in Dallas have seen the local kid play, and he's a good football player. He'll be a day one starter. So Gladney to Dallas at 27. Great pickup, day one starter. And 28, I've been mocking this quite often. You can't have Lamar Jackson running for 1,200 yards a season. That's silly. Ingram is more of a tackle-to-tackle guy. Swift gives you a completely new and different element. This is a home run threat. The best part is you can line up Swift in the slot, play Ingram and Swift at the same time, get very creative. And this guy's an excellent receiver. He's a home run threat. It adds elements to your offense that you don't have. So I love Swift going to Baltimore at 28. Tennessee, I got Justin Jefferson here. Now, a part of this is that I hated the Corey Davis pick. He was the 5th overall pick. I thought it was a bad move by Tennessee. And last year, he had 43 receptions, 601 yards, and 2 touchdowns. If you're the 5th pick in the draft and that's what you're putting up, that's not good enough. He's coming up on his 4th year as a Tennessee Titan, and he could be a trade candidate, or here's what you could do. You could have Davis on one side, A.J. Brown on the other side. Jefferson played the slot at LSU, put him in the slot, then Derrick Henry's in the backfield. That's some really good skill position talent. I kind of like that, but I think that if you draft a guy like Jefferson, you're basically telling Corey Davis, hey, look, you need to improve your play or be gone. And there's a good chance you could draft Jefferson and trade Corey Davis. So throwing some things out there. Green Bay at 30, I think gets really lucky because they get one of my favorite players in the draft, Brandon Ayuk. This is a guy who could go top 25, probably should go top 25. I love this guy because he can play inside, outside, return kicks. This is a really good pick because I think they need somebody opposite Devontae Adams on the outside. So he can play inside, he can play outside, like I said. So Green Bay gets really lucky and gets a very good football player at 30. San Francisco at 31, we have another trade. I got really creative in this trade. I get the Jets get back in round 1. Now, San Francisco does not have a pick in rounds 2, 3, or 4. So what I have them doing is giving up a 2021 third and getting picks in this draft, which they need. Now, if you remember, the Jets traded up earlier and got an extra 4th round pick. So they do lose their 2nd and their 3rd, but they still have 2 4th round picks. So they do have some trade capital plus an extra 3rd in 2021. So after trading up for Okudah, I can still feel the hate from the Jets fans here. They come back into the 1st round and grab Denzel Mims, wide receiver out of Baylor. So the Jets, what they do is they get a day 1 starter at corner. They get a day 1 starter at wide receiver. I really like this move for the Jets. And San Francisco, they trade out of the 31st pick and they get a 2nd and 3rd round pick. They do need extra picks, so it works out good for San Francisco. And at pick 32, let's end it with another trade. Now, for those of you who don't know, Chris Ballard and Andy Reid came together in 2013 to Kansas City. Both these guys worked together for several years. These two guys got a great working relationship. So if this trade does happen, it's probably already been agreed upon weeks ago. Kansas City wants to get out of the 1st round. That's no secret. So for them going from 32 to 34, getting an extra 5th round selection, that makes a ton of sense for Kansas City. What do the option or what benefit do the Colts get from trading up to 32? I'll explain here. This is probably my craziest selection in the draft, but with pick number 32, the final pick in the first round, I have the Indianapolis Colts selecting Jacob Eason, quarterback out of Washington. Now, if you don't know this, if you're drafted in the first round, you get a 4-year contract plus a 5th-year club option. And I think the Colts really want that 5th year for this quarterback because he's not going to start in 2020. Phillip Rivers is your starter. Maybe Phillip Rivers can be convinced to stay for another year. That's why I think you trade up from 34 to 32 because he's going to be available at 34. All right. The Bengals aren't going to take him at 33. Now the Bengals could trade out of 33, but I think that what you do is you're trying to get Eason on that 5th-year deal. I think that's why you trade up, use that pick. Now remember, the Colts pick at 44, so just in a few picks, they're going to get a player who can help you this year in the draft. Get that 5th-year option for your future starter with massive upside. That's the way I see it. Now, I got bonus coverage for you. Every team without a first-round pick, I'm going to post their selection and talk briefly about it. First off, Kansas City here at 34. They get one of my favorite players in the draft, and that's A.J. Epenesa, defensive end out of Iowa. And I think there's a good chance that if he's available at 32, Kansas City just takes him. In most 4-3 defenses, you have a weak side and a strong side, where Frank Clark would be the weak side, and A.J. Epenesa would be the strong side. I actually think he's a day one starter, which is rare. And the best part is that when Kansas City goes to a NASCAR package, you move him inside and he still wins. Highly productive at Iowa. I do think he will be a day one starter in Kansas City. So home run hit, one of my favorite players for my favorite team. Houston at 40 was kind of a tough one, but Raekwon Davis, I think he will be available at 40. And the best part is that Houston can get his motor running at 100%. He's easily one of the best 20 players in the draft. So you get one of the top 20 players in the draft. You take him at 40. You put him on the defensive line. This is the guy that you want to get off the bus first. And you put him next to J.J. Watt, if nothing else. If he learns, hey, if he has the same work ethic as J.J. Watt, he will be the same type of player. Has all the athleticism in the world. It's just a question of getting his motor running 100% all the time. Out of all the picks, Jeremy Chinn at 43 is, I think, the least likely to happen because I thought Chinn could go late first round, but when I started breaking down the second round of the draft, I couldn't find a spot for him. So I said, well, if he's available at 43, I definitely think the Bears take him. Eddie Jackson, free safety. Jeremy Chinn is your strong safety. Ooh, man, that's a good combination. But of all of these picks, I think Chinn's the least likely to be there, especially at 43. Jalen Hurts going to Pittsburgh at 49. I look at Lamar Jackson, and you basically got poor man Lamar Jackson, Jalen Hurts. By the way, if Joe Burrow doesn't have that season, Jalen Hurts wins the Heisman. All right. And by the way, if Lamar Jackson had that season at Louisville and Joe Burrow had that season at LSU, Lamar Jackson doesn't win a Heisman. Jalen Hurts came really close to winning a Heisman. It was a record-setting year. I think that he'll play a little bit in 2020. I'd say about 75 snaps, but he'll be your starter in 2021. Pittsburgh's tried drafting replacements for Roethlisberger in the past. Just got to man up. You got to do it. 52, I honestly don't expect the Rams to be here. I think the Rams will trade out of this pick. They also pick at 57, so whether they pick here or whether they pick at 57, they're famous for trading their picks for players. Don't be surprised if Leonard Fournette is a Ram come draft day or even before draft day. There's been rumors about that. That would be a good fit. Do I think 52 for Leonard Fournette? It's definitely a possibility, but I'm going to put the pick as Willie Gay, a linebacker at Mississippi State, that the former 5-star player who really had multiple issues. But if you were to say, God, build me a middle linebacker, it'd be Willie Gay. I think he was 242, ran a 4.46 at the combine. Remember, your new defensive coordinator, Brandon Staley, came from Vic Fangio, linebacker coach. Why not take the most athletic linebacker in the draft? You need one. So that's a pick for me at 52. And 54, I'm kind of surprised I haven't mocked this sooner because I've been mocking corner to Buffalo, but Cam Akers makes a lot of sense. I love Devin Singletary. I think Akers is better. I think that barring injury, Akers will end up being the starter, and then Singletary will come in for spot duty. I think Akers is that good of a player, and you already got your receiver in Diggs. Why not add another weapon to that offense? Help Josh Allen. This could be a home run for Buffalo. So look, those are the 6 picks that didn't have a first-round selection. So there you go. Now, obviously, this is my opinion, but I want to know what you think. Please leave a comment below. Tell me what you liked, but definitely tell you definitely share what you didn't like. Tell me what I got wrong. Leave a comment below. Let's have a discussion. Let's have a back and forth. Now, my final mock draft will be released Thursday. Draft day! At noon, that will be my final draft. So, hey, look, I look forward to seeing you on draft day.